Good evening, East Brunswick. Welcome to the August 10th Township Council meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of personal reflection. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Ms. Loeffel, can you please call roll?
Councilman Bahal.
Here.
Councilman McAvoy.
Here.
Councilman Wendell.
Here.
Councilwoman Winston.
Here.
And Council President Zambicki.
Here.
Also present, Mayor Brad Cohen.
Here.
Administrator Joseph Criscuolo.
Here.
And Township Attorney Anthony Iacoca.
Here.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided as required under Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, by specifying the time, date, location, and to the extent known, the agenda, by posting a copy on the bulletin board located in the main lobby of the East Brunswick Municipal Building, providing a copy to the Home News Tribune and the Asbury Park Press newspapers, posting a copy on the Township's website, and by filing a copy in the office of the Township Clerk, which will be entered into the minutes.
Thank you. May I have a motion for Resolution 26-253, the adoption of the July 27th minutes? Motion?
So moved.
Thank
Second.
you. And, yeah, second. And roll call, please.
Councilman Bahal.
Yes.
Councilman McAvoy.
Yes.
Councilman Wendell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Winston.
Yes.
And Council President Zambicki.
Yes. Tonight we have a proclamation that we are going to be providing, and this is honoring the life and legacy of Diane Hutchins. Last meeting, we did a moment of silence in honor of Diane and the work that she has done in our township that has impacted so many residents and nearby residents, and her legacy will definitely be held forever in East Brunswick. So with that, I'm going to ask Councilwoman Dana Winston to please present the resolution, the proclamation for tonight. Thank you.
Welcome, President Family. We are truly sorry for your loss. I'm very proud to read this proclamation honoring an incredible resident and citizen whose legacy transcends description. Proclamation honoring the life and legacy of Diane Hutchins. Whereas Diane Hutchins, a compassionate leader, devoted humanitarian, and tireless advocate for those in need, passed away on July 20th, 2026 at the age of 78. Leaving behind a legacy defined by service, generosity, and unwavering dedication to her community. And whereas, for more than 2 decades, Diane faithfully served as director of the Aldersgate Outreach Community Center in East Brunswick, transforming a small church ministry into a comprehensive community resource serving individuals and families of all ages with dignity, compassion, and hope. And whereas, through visionary leadership, Diane built meaningful partnerships across Middlesex County, connecting corporations with local farms to secure donations. She was a passionate advocate for reducing food waste, collecting surplus food from grocery stores, restaurants, coffee shops, convenience stores, or other local businesses. And whereas, Diane is lovingly survived by her sons, Jared Harsendorf, Timothy Hutchins, and his wife Christina, along with her children, Lainey Roberson and Avery Roberson, Andrew Hutchins and his partner Nicole Hallaby, and soon-to-be-born grandchild. And whereas Diane's remarkable energy, quick wit, infectious optimism, and unwavering belief that no one should ever be left behind inspired thousands of volunteers, colleagues, neighbors, and friends, making an immeasurable impact that will continue to be felt for generations. Now, therefore, it be proclaimed that I, Brad J. Cohen, Mayor of the Township of East Brunswick, and the Township Council do hereby honor the life and legacy of Diane Hutchins express our deepest condolences to her family and loved ones, and extend our heartfelt gratitude for her decades of dedicated service to our community.
Thank you, Ms. Lee, for helping set this up. Thank you, Mayor Cohen and the rest of the council. We moved to Old Bridge 40 years ago, but most of my mom's work was done in in East Brunswick the past 30 plus years at Aldersgate. Aldersgate provided her structural support in the way of a small thrift shop and food bank, and as well as fueling her drive to help more and more people. East Brunswick Township was also key in supporting her. Whether they liked it or not, she was not going to have it any other way. I appreciate everybody's help through the years. She had nothing but good things to say about East Brunswick and Mayor Cohen and the staff. I hope we can continue to move forward with her vision and her ideas. I'm grateful for the recognition of her past work. Thank you.
I don't know if we want to take a pause and do a picture, so you have that as a legacy piece for your mom? Yes? Okay. Come up, please, so we can do a picture. Everybody come up. Yes, everybody. Thank you. So thank you very much. Many blessings. Yes, we're going to take a quick recess so we can have a moment. We're back. So we have one ordinance tonight for a second reading. It's ordinance 2622. Ms. Lawful, can you please read the ordinance?
An ordinance amending Chapter 218 of the Code of the Township of East Brunswick entitled Water to establish mandatory water meter and advanced metering infrastructure replacement, customer access requirements, and enforcement procedures.
Thank you.
Move to adopt.
Let's start with a public
Oh, okay.
hearing. Yeah, so we have a public hearing on this ordinance. Does anybody from the public want to speak to this ordinance and this ordinance only? Please come to the podium. Good evening.
Lucia, I don't understand the ordinance. Is it gonna fine people for not getting the meters? Is that what the idea is here, or what?
So correct, the ordinance is, this has been going on for almost 4 years now.
Right.
We're down to only about 1,500 people, households that still have to have their meters replaced. It will go into effect January. People have to schedule their their meter replacements and have that done in order to avoid a $250 fine per quarter for the water bill.
Per quarter?
Per month, I'm sorry,
Oh,
per month.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, it seems, it's been going on for so long, I understand that. but
We
I
need
mean,
people
turn
to
around and
follow and get it done.
You know, I mean, I've got it done.
Good.
But, you know, I think one of the problems is that the result of having it done, when I had mine done, I had to call and say, how come the meter wasn't read? And what happened was, the person that did the job never told the town. That's, you know, and these are the kind of things that happen, and that's what fears people. So, yeah, you can do what you want to do, but I don't think that this is a good idea, only for that reason. I mean, this is your own citizens you're attacking.
Thank you. We've had good results with the meter replacement over the course of the years. We have not, very few people have expressed displeasure with it. It is something that we need to do to keep up our infrastructure and to make sure that we're in compliance,
Yeah,
so.
we've already installed, including businesses, over 20,000 meters. Other towns have had the same problem, and in order to get the project to the finish line, they had to do the same things, and even some towns even went the next step and said if you, and people were paying the fee, that they put a curb box in. They dug it out in their right of way and at their expense, put the meter in. But in order to get the automated meter reading, we need to do this, and it's for the good of everybody. When people had trouble, was because they had estimated bills for a long period of time. Some, I looked at one case today, there's almost, 4 years of estimated bills, and there's been letters sent to everybody for the replacement and specific letters on estimated bills that went out. And on every bill, it says, if it says it's estimated, to please call the water department, and Jared will arrange for the meter to be updated, or the back plates installed, or the actual transponder. So this has gone out in other towns, and they've had similar problems when they got down to the last, 1 to 2,000. So I'd appreciate if residents that are there, they'll be getting a letter in the next couple of weeks to get it scheduled. We're going to make it as easy as possible. We're going to do it at night and on weekends and early mornings, late afternoons, with our own staff coming in and doing it, because we really would like to get this done. And I appreciate the council's support on this to get this over the finish line. Thank you.
We're close. All right, thank you. Now a motion.
Motion done.
And second? And roll call, please.
Councilmember Hall?
Yes.
Councilman Wendell?
Yes.
Councilman McAvoy?
Yes.
Councilwoman Winston?
Yes.
And Council President Zambiki?
Yes. All right, we're on to the report section. Mayor Cohen, do you have a report for us today?
Thank you, Council President. A couple of quick items. Number one, I think it's been well published already that the Department of Transportation has notified the township that they anticipate the road work on Route 18 coming to a completion the end of this month. A lot of the pavement work and repaving of the entire stretch will be done over the evening so as not to interfere with any of the rush hour traffic. But by the end of this month, all of our lanes should be restored, which I think will make a lot of people happy. since that's been the biggest issue. There's some sidewalk work and light work that needs to be done, but that won't interfere with lanes, which is really what's caused the bulk of the traffic. Not sooner, however, that we heard about them completing that work, they also notified us, as many of you know, of a new project working on the bridge by Eicher Street, which is a much, much smaller project and much further down Route 18 South, where it isn't nearly as heavily traveled as it is in the more northern section of Route 18. However, it is annoying that that work could not have been arranged to be done at the same time that the Route 18 work was being done for the last 4 years. But in any event, it's their road, and we don't really have much of a say over that. That project will start with some work that won't affect lanes. The lane effect won't take place till after the new year. So that's a separate project. For those folks that have questions about that, concerns, any issues they want to raise with the Department of Transportation, it is their road, not ours. They will be holding a public information session here in East Brunswick at the Community Arts Center this Thursday at 7?
Yes.
7 p.m. So please feel free to bring your questions and your concerns to the department. As you know, also this month, the third quarter tax bills, which were sent out to you as estimates, they're actually, the last day for paying taxes for the third quarter is actually tomorrow. But as many know, that estimated tax bill is based on the fact that we don't have a tax rate established by the county until sometime in the middle to end of August. So in order for us to get bills out in time, we estimate what the increase is going to be. And while it's easy to say, oh, it went up, it's really the first time that you see the increase for this year. Doesn't come till the third quarter because we don't get the tax rates for the entire year until August. So what you're paying in the first 2 quarters is the holdover from the year before, and the tax increase that goes into effect starts in August. Turns out that we did estimate a little bit high, so your fourth quarter tax bill will actually be lower than the third quarter estimate. And then it will carry forward with the first and second quarter into 27. Road work that the township pays for our roads. As you know, there's lots of roads that get done during the season when we could do construction, from the Route 18, which is a state road, to county roads, to our own roads, which are our responsibility, and then the work that's often done by utility companies that's paid for and done by the utility company, all being done at the same time. So I know how it can get confusing to people because you have to know what road is being done, who's paying for what work. And I guess if you're inconvenienced, it really doesn't matter who's responsible. But a lot of that work, by in large, is ahead of schedule. So we're happy about that. And then finally, for those who had the opportunity to go out this past week to the Middlesex County Fairs, a little spotty with weather. Some days were really great, and others we were unfortunately stuck with rain. But it was a great fair. Thank you to the county, to the Fair Association, and to the 4-H for putting on another great fair, the 88th now, and we're very happy to host it here in East Brunswick. So thank you.
Awesome, thank you very much. Mr. Criscuolo, your report.
Yes, one thing that I'm required by law to inform you as soon as possible, I'll be declaring an emergency contract for 2 of the 10 air conditioning units at the Community Arts Center. They are older R20 systems that are through their useful life. We cannot patch them any longer. So due to the use of that building and the occupation of that building, I'm going to coincide with the Department of Public Works Director, declare an emergency to get those 2 outside condenser units completed in a timely fashion. The other 8 were on the radar to do next year. So we will shortly be going out for engineering services to facilitate the replacement or the upgrade of those. And we still only have we have a few more systems that are using R20 Freon, and we'd like to, be done with those and get them from the analog system over to the digital system. So I anticipate at the next council meeting, I'll have the numbers for you. But as soon as I can get those air conditioning units ordered, that's the plan, to get them back online. That's the big community room that's used by a lot of people, organizations, and classes that we run. On the theme of paving, some people may notice that on the jug handle sides, on the northbound side, Ruse Lane was done, racetrack. They're making their way down the highway, and what they're doing is milling and paving with what is known as a stabilized base. It's a leveling course. So it's not actually up to grade. So you may be coming up racetrack and notice there's a little, you go down by an inch or so. That's because the first course is a leveling course with all the holes and everything there. A leveling course is to do exactly what it says, to try to make sure that when they do the top coat, that is level. So that's the plan. I'm happy with the rainstorms that we've had over the last month. We see that the drainage is actually cooperating with us on Route 18, which is the main theme of that project. If you remember years ago, if you went down near, down the highway, down near Chili's and so on, the water would be, to the top of the Jersey barrier, and we've had several tests over the last 2 months. And I'm glad to see that that's done. As the mayor alluded to, over on the Frost area, that's where PSE&G is doing their paving. They promised that they would have that done by the time school opens. Crisdale is doing that work, very reputable paving company, and I have all the confidence that that will be completed. I also got some good news from Middlesex County regarding paving. Overage Turnpike from Windsor Drive to Cranberry Road is set to be paved in the September-October timeframe. It's a big county. They can't get to all the roads in the summertime, but that's one road that's going to be paved. Cranberry from Brower to Lexington Avenue is also going to be paved. And if you recall, they did Cranberry down there, the Community Arts Center, earlier this year. Also Riders Lane from Tices Lane to the Turnpike Bridge. I call it where the railroad tracks is. If you recall, last year, the railroad came in and upgraded that track, and this year they did the one over near Main Street. So we're glad they were able to do that. And this will really finish up that Riders Lane from Tices over towards that side. So there's a lot going on in the summer as far as infrastructure that we want to get completed by the time school opens. Russo Development paved Lake Avenue, and we're on target to have a bid package prepared for Renee, the Renee that goes from Tices Lane all the way to Churchill. So we're preparing that bid package. There's some other work for drainage and everything we need to do over there, but we hope to be out to bid very shortly with that. And for paving, but maybe this year, but more likely in the spring. But if we could do it, we'd like to get it done before the winter. That's all I have.
And that's grant funded.
That's grant funded. That's federal money that the legislature allotted through the last state budget. So we have to actually wait for them to put it in the system. So
That's
we're
state-funded grant.
State funding grant, right. Senator Dignan and Stanley and Rob got that money for us as far as the state budget was concerned. That's all.
Perfect, thank you. Township Attorney Anthony Iacocca.
Thank you, Council President. On July 27th, the Township Council introduced ordinance number 26-21, which would amend Chapter 228 with regard to data centers. The ordinance was originally scheduled for public hearing for this evening. However, the public hearing has now been rescheduled to August 24th, 2026. That's it.
Thank you. Township clerk,
Nothing to report, Council President.
committee reports. Yes.
Thank you, Council President. Based upon the amount of redevelopment work going on in front of everyone, also behind the scenes, I just wanted to give some updates to the residents as well as to this council. As everyone on this council knows, Legacy Place is moving along diligently and coming to their final stages of residential lease-up. And they continue to open up more and more retail, to the point that I do believe at this point that they are committed to all the retail spaces. So that's a very good thing. We were very bullish, the mayor and myself and some other members of the redevelopment agency, on how much retail could be supported by that. And we got a lot of pushback, but we held our ground, and happy to see that everything is being leased up and, you know, in a very, very quick fashion. As far as Legacy Place goes, their residential lease-ups and the for-sale housing for that project is moving along rather diligently. The park work has begun, and so that's moving along. The other thing I wanted to really express upon this council, in regard to the northern part of Route 18, the redevelopment agency engaged a planner probably a month ago to look at what we call Area 1A, which is the area between Edgar Street and Ruth Street. The planner has and is finalizing some ideas for that property as to what can be done with those properties. They're all pretty much dilapidated and in various needs of redevelopment. The expectation is that we'll have the planner at the next redevelopment agency meeting to make a presentation, which is Monday night, by the way, to make a presentation to the commissioners of the agency, get some feedback, and be able to continue with writing a redevelopment plan for that area based upon several ideas that were presented or are going to be presented to the commissioners on Monday night's meeting. So that's all moving along. And what's been going on behind the scenes with some members of the agency, our professionals, the mayor and myself at the Brunswick Square Mall is, you know, looking at what we call Area 1, which is the old Macy's piece, which we have expectations based upon where we are with the property owner that we are hopeful that a presentation can be made to the redevelopment agency again this Monday as well, so that the commissioners can opine on a draft redevelopment plan. When I say redevelopment plan, just for the residents' sake, it's not necessarily a plan, you know, it is a written plan as to what the specifications are and how the property must be developed and what can be developed and what primarily the parameters are that the developer must work within. But those parameters are based upon real-life drawings and real-life presentations. So the expectation is that if that is ready for the redevelopment agency on Monday, the expectation is that a presentation will be made by the planner for that property, which is our planner, the township's planner, on the redevelopment plan for that property, at which time the redevelopment agency would prepare and request, if the agency members all agree with the plan, with no changes, the agency would make a request to this governing body at their next meeting to refer the plan as written to the planning board. And the planning board will review that plan, make whatever changes they feel is necessary, and then ideally, within a, certain amount of time, whether it be one meeting or two meetings or however many meetings it takes, be able to adopt the plan as suggested by our planner and as changed potentially by our planner with agency comments, governing body comments, and planning board comments, at which point that plan would come back to this governing body for final approval, and that property could then start moving forward and finalizing their site plan approval and things of that nature, so that that property, and again, I'm just talking about the Macy's portion, from Macy's south, but then that portion of the property can then start moving forward in a redevelopment and start breaking ground as soon as we can get through the approval process through the land use boards, meaning the planning board. So the expectation is fast track. This governing body sees something in 2 weeks from tonight. If we don't get there, it would be ideally at the following meeting. And again, remember that that is all based upon our settlements with the state, the fair share housing grants and all of that. Not grants, but the fair share housing requirements placed upon this town for us to meet whatever housing stipulations have been put on those properties. And it could be the Macy's piece, it could be the center piece, it could be the JCPenney piece. That's up to the governing bodies to determine. The planner is only going to make suggestions. So we're getting close. We're getting close, and you're going to see something relatively quickly. And I know the property owner that is currently owning of the Macy's parcel is very bullish on East Brunswick and excited to get the project started as quickly as possible. So just wanted to give everybody some updates. It's moving along. We're very excited. There's been a lot of hard work over many, many months between planners and other legal professionals and such in getting this to the point that it's at. So between architects and planners for the property owner and all of that, it's been a lot of hard work, a lot of negotiation, but I think we've gotten to a point that you're going to be happy with what's going to be presented here after the redevelopment agency opines and makes whatever changes or suggestions they feel are necessary.
Okay, thank you very much. We look
Yep.
forward to hearing about it. Any other committee reports? No, just a quick. I was asked to present that there's a job fair that is being held on August 17th at the East Brunswick Public Library from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. There'll be representatives from the Township and also the East Brunswick Public Schools and EduStaff, which is the new substitute service that's being used through the public schools. There are part-time positions available through the schools, and there are full and part-time positions available through the Township. So if you're interested, bring multiple copies of your resume and come prepared to meet with hiring representatives. Once again, that's August 17th from 10 to 1 p.m. at the public library. Okay, we are going to the public portion of the meeting. Ms. Waffle, would you please read the public comment statement?
The public comment portion of our meeting is to allow the public to bring to the council's attention their concerns or comments. In accordance with NJSA 10:4-12A and the East Brunswick Rules of Council, the council asks the public to limit their comments to 5 minutes or less. At the conclusion of the statements or questions from a member of the public, the council president, at her discretion, may choose to respond or not respond.
Thank you. So we're opening the public portion. Anybody from the public that would like to speak, please come to the podium and state your name and address.
Good evening, Jason Friedman, 3 Northfield Avenue, East Brunswick, New Jersey. Council President Zimbicki, Mayor Cohen, members of the Town Council, professionals, good evening. It's not often that the work I do day to day professionally intersects with the priorities of leadership here in East Brunswick, but at the last Town Council meeting, I did hear the first reading of an ordinance to ban data centers here in town. And being that what I track and work on every day got my fullest attention, I wanted to come down this evening to share a couple thoughts with you and really encourage leadership here to maybe take a more nuanced approach, maybe an approach that mirrors what the state has done at the state level, providing guardrails as opposed to an outright ban. Going back a long time in history, you may be aware, you may not be aware that the late 1800s, there was a new legal concept taking root in the country. It's called the corporation. And a lot of people were very wary of a corporation. William Jennings Bryan, various leaders at that time against the corporation. New Jersey, our state, took a different approach, made a home for corporations to do business in and with, and that was not popular. That was not popular. But by the year 1900, something like 1/3 of the publicly traded corporations with a market cap of $1 million or more were domiciled here. Standard Oil, up until recently, over 140 some odd years, which is now ExxonMobil, is incorporated here in New Jersey. We don't even have any oil in New Jersey, but they incorporated here. And think about 5 or more generations of New Jerseyans and the prosperity, the jobs, the chemical engineers, the Bayway Refinery, the R&D facility out in Clinton, generated by that forward-thinking time. You know, the hysteria, the smoke is going to clear at some point regarding this current issue. And leaders like yourselves and the folks who will come after you will still be here faced with the same challenges. How do we provide the services? How do we continue to pave the roads, provide the schooling and the education and the money? Take a look at a place like Loudoun County, Virginia, Data Center Alley, right? The home of the internet, where all this stuff first broke back in the 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s. 93% of their county tax burden covered by data centers. One of the wealthiest counties in the United States, which is really saying something. A little closer to home, take a look at Piscataway. Built that brand new YMCA facility, which is I'm particularly envious of and is the envy of a lot of communities here in Middlesex County. They're getting like $20 million a year in tax revenue from data center development there. Doesn't bring crime. There's no services, there's no shoplifting, there's no fire. It doesn't put children into schools, doesn't add traffic. Just offers like a wheelbarrow of cash, right? So thank you for hearing me tonight. Thank you for your continued leadership. I hope you'll take some time, think, reflect, and maybe take a more nuanced approach to the issue of data center construction here in our town. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to speak tonight?
Hi, good evening. My name is Michael DeLucia, 28 Parker Street, and I lived there for a long time. Mr. Corshillo, I know you've only been an administrator, and you haven't been an administrator during the time that some of these problems have occurred on my street. I know that. I'm very aware of that. Okay? So, but what I really have a problem with is that when you say that you're going to do something and you tell a resident that you're going to ticket people for not doing what they're supposed to be doing, don't come out there and not ticket them, because it just doesn't look right. I mean, I don't know how to tell you to solve this problem. All I know is the mayor knows about it, because I talked to the mayor passed it on to you. You passed it on to the police people, and other people got involved, and you went to court. And I thought you solved the problem. But I've told, if you're going back to court, I'd like to go there. I'll be there. You tell me the date, I'll be there. Because I know everything that has to do with what happened there, okay? Because you weren't the administrator then. And nobody on this council was even present when that property went to the planning board, okay? I was. I know what was said. And I know what was said by the people who granted them to do what they have to do. So we're going back and forth with all this. I kind of say that you're kind of doing a good job in some ways, but you can't tell people that you're going to do something and not do it. And when a policeman comes out and would you like a tractor trailer to go down your street and then tell a police officer, why didn't you give him a ticket? I mean, you live in residential areas. I live in a residential area too. And that's the way I want to be treated, as a resident in a residential area. I haven't come to this council for this because you have done some things. And I do grant, and I think that, that's a good thing. But at the same time, you have to come to some kind of rectification of this. This is a problem. It's gone on. When I turn around and I had a child that had a nurse in my home, and that person got hit by a person from that dealership and ran away, and that person never got a ticket, and hit a car in broad daylight, okay? There's something wrong here, okay? That's all I have to say with this, and that's it. I don't want to say anymore. You know what goes on. I'm not going to tell you. You want to share it with the rest of the council? Share it with the rest of the council. I've been here. I talked about it before. I'm talking about it now. I don't want to come back. I'm an old man. I don't like to do this, okay? I'm too old to do this. I'm going to tell you something. My father lived on the corner of that street, and that dealership would have never been there if it wasn't for my father and the residents in that town, because at that time, the residents all stuck together, okay? But now things are different. So, you got to start doing something. That's the bottom line. And you have done something. So, I that's it. But at the same time, you can't tell residents you're going to do something and not do it. That's the bottom line. The other thing is that, and it has nothing to do with what I'm talking about here, is that I've noticed that in another town, Freehold, okay, they started reevaluating all the homes. And I saw a home go from 14,000 all the way up to 18,000. So I guess I'm going to ask the mayor that, and what I read about Freehold is that they were told to do it by the governor. So is that going to happen in this town too?
We've been put on warning by the county that we are long overdue for an evaluation. We've gone out to secure a company to do that, but there's so few of them that we are on a waiting list. And when and if they come here, I haven't even given us an estimate.
But what's going to happen?
Well, you're not letting me finish.
Oh, sorry.
And when that estimate comes in, if there's only one company, we're going to have to do that. We're being forced by the county to do it. And most people recognize that. Their tax bill is less than 20% of assessed value. It's screaming to be done. And I can't tell you how anybody's property is going to change in that,
But-
some will go up, some will go down, and most will stay probably about the same.
Yeah, but I think the biggest problem in doing that, okay, and I think that's what happened in Freehold too, is they didn't only use Freehold's numbers, they used the county's numbers.
They use a different system. Madam President, may I?
Yes.
A long time ago in my career, I'm not new to municipal management. About 18 years ago, I was in a small community called Aberdeen in Monmouth County, and Mr. Clark, who was the county assessor, they went to a county assessment system. It's totally different than what is done in Middlesex County. So you're comparing apples and oranges. The State Division of Taxation has ordered a lot of communities to do a reval. I've done a reval in Aberdeen because we needed to comply with the county assessment system. When I was the administrator in Piscataway, even though it was 10 years ago, I was there for 5 years, I did a reval in Piscataway. And they're keeping their numbers up to date. And they're tying up one of the companies that actually goes around and does the assessment. So they do it by, I believe, fire district, because there's 3 fire districts there. And you got to go, and they want to keep their values at almost 100%. So one part of town may be at 103%, another part of town could be at 96%. So you have to look at the methodology that's being utilized, and Monmouth County is totally different than Middlesex County. It was a trial program, which they got involved with nearly 20 years ago, and that's the method that they use, and Freehold had to do the assessment because they were so far out of whack.
And we've been talking about this
Yeah.
as a council for a year now, about the reassessment. And there are, I believe, 2 companies in the
Correct.
state of New Jersey
Yeah.
that actually do it.
Yeah.
So
But-
you have 15 seconds left.
Oh, well,
Thank
you took up all of my time.
No, no,
But-
you're right.
All right.
With everybody talking,
All
you're
right,
8
but
minutes.
anyway, I think that the other part of it is too, is now, when you're doing this now, prices are so out of whack. They're completely out of whack. And to do it now, it's, it should have been done 15 years ago.
Can't change that.
What's
Yep.
that?
What we're forced
No,
to
you
do, and we're
can't
going to
change
do it.
that, but-
Madam President, I'd like to respond to
Yes,
his
thank
first
you very
comments,
much.
if you wouldn't
Yes,
mind.
response, yes.
First of all, I don't have a ticket book. I don't write tickets.
Right.
I've never told you I could write a ticket, Mr. DeLucia. I've often told you to call the police department. You could call Lieutenant Charlie Boble. He's the lieutenant in charge of the traffic safety unit.
Right.
You could call Sergeant Brian Ventura. He's the other supervisor of that unit.
Right.
If you are displeased with something that occurs in the traffic unit or the police department, you could call the sergeant, the lieutenant, the captain there, Captain Keenley, or the chief of police. The mayor or I or anybody else up here. We don't have a ticket book. I can't come out there and write a ticket for you. I can encourage you that every time the employees that park on the street and you're upset about it, call the police department.
Well, they did do that today.
Okay.
They did
So
do that
that's
today.
what you need to do.
Right.
If you aren't happy because they didn't issue a summons, call the proper authority. Call the police department. Call the chief of police, because we have no power over the police department.
Like I
Okay?
said,
Hear me out. The zoning officer has already been there.
Right.
There's been conversations, and they've been cited and given citations for doing work that was not allowed in their site plan. Their attorney is involved. We're trying to come to a conclusion with that. They've been given a summons from the zoning officer regarding the car washing that was being done there, regarding the car repairs that were being done in the roadway, the delivery of cars. They've been given all kinds of summonses. Okay, they're a business in town that pays tax. We're trying to be business friendly because I don't want them to move out of town, but we do want them to comply with their site plan approval. And we have two of our attorneys here that will tell you, when you get attorneys involved, we're trying to come to an agreement on what they can do and what they can't do. And you're right, I'm frustrated too. I've called the manager there and asked him to tell their employees to stop parking on the street.
Right.
They were parking across the street at the Lowe's and running across the highway.
Right.
That's not good either.
Right.
I made an arrangement with them to park in the parking deck and for them to pay for them to be there, which they still pay us to park there.
Right.
And they promised that they would shuttle those employees from the deck to the dealership. The employees didn't do it.
Right.
They tried.
Right.
So all I can tell you, call the traffic unit.
Right.
Sergeant Ventura will come down there. If they don't issue a ticket and you're upset, talk to Sergeant Ventura, Lieutenant Boble, or the Chief of Police.
Well,
Because I can't write a ticket.
Okay, all right, but my reply, their reply to me was, if I didn't like it, take them to court. Take the police officer to court. That's what a policeman told me. I think it was Mr. Bolden.
Okay.
So I think
So
we're
call the
beyond.
chief of police.
If you have
All
a
right,
question,
all right,
call.
we're beyond, okay, I'm beyond. I made my point. That's what I came here for.
You certainly did, thank you. And Mr. Criscolo provided some
No, I
advice for you to
understand.
follow.
I understand what you're saying. I do.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public? Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Jim Lee. I live at 9 Watchung Road in the Frost area of East Brunswick. I don't know anybody on the council, so I don't know if any of you live in the Frost area or frequent the Frost area. Mr. Criscuolo alluded earlier that PSE&G was doing paving in the area. Well, last month, about 6 weeks ago, we got a notice saying that there would be milling and paving done on the streets there, and my street was one of the streets. I'd like to ask anybody here, if you were painting your house, or siding your house, or even power washing your house, would you do half your house and not the other half? Because that's what I found out today. They milled one half of the street and paved one half of the street, and they're not paving or milling the other half of the street. It looks ridiculous. Not only that, but for probably 3 out of the last 6 years, my wife has called after the winter to report potholes in front of my house. And it's constant. Whether it's the freeze from the winter or the rains in the summer, it washes the potholes loose. I have pictures now. There are at least 10 potholes in front of my house. And there are also cracks in the street where weeds are starting to grow up. So I don't know what the paving plan is, but I've lived in my house for 27 years. And I can't remember in the last 15 to 20 years the street being paved. So now, one half of the street is paved, the other half looks like crap. And I don't think anybody here would stand for it if they did that on your street. The other thing is, we also got a notice that they were going to prune the street trees in the neighborhood. Well, I can tell you, they don't have to do some of them anymore because the dump trucks that came down the street ripped the branches off the trees, so they don't have to worry about pruning a lot of the trees anymore. It just doesn't seem to make sense that you would have the milling and paving done and have dump trucks going along the edge of the road and then say, okay, after they do that and destroy the trees, then we're going to go prune them. But my main issue is the fact that again, I don't know the last time the street was paved, but there are potholes all over the place. So to me, it would be common sense. Well, if I know somebody's picking up half the bill for paving a street, maybe we should do the other half and we can save money because somebody's doing half the job for us and paying for it. I don't know, but I'd like somebody to come take a look at it because it looks absurd that you're going to have that whole development now with half every street paved
Council
and the other
President.
half not paved.
Oh, hang on, are you finished or, okay. yes.
Yeah, the utility companies, and I had this in front of my house as well. They're only required to do equal to or better on the part of the road in which they had to dig. So in some cases, they're only retired to do the trench.
Right.
And
And
then
that
they
was actually
settled.
the better half of the,
Right.
that was the,
Right.
the better half of the street.
So,
So
so
the worst
they're,
half of the street isn't being touched.
we've been working with the engineering department to trade some of those roads, maybe yours, they were maybe only had to do from the trench line to the curb. Okay?
That's what they did.
And that may have been their own requirement. In some cases, we said, we're gonna come in next year and do the water line, so due to the center line.
And
Okay.
That's what they did, I'm sorry. They did the center line.
Right.
To the curb.
So that's what they're doing, because we have to go in there and do some other utility work in the future. So you would agree that it doesn't make sense for me to pave the whole road and then go back in there next year and rip it up and put a water line, fix the water lines. So understand the process. Mr. Kipp would be glad to talk to you if you would like that. He's the Director of Engineering and Planning, Keith Kipp. We work with PSE&G in other areas of the town and did exactly what you're talking about, where we're going to do the other side of the road, but if we're putting a water line in, we don't want to do that now, because we're going to wind up ripping it up and paving the other half of the road. So there's a method to the madness, and I understand it's trying when PSE&G takes 2 or 3 years to do their work, but the same thing's going on near University and all those other places where cast iron pipes were there. And luckily now you have a solid plastic pipe there where high pressure, all your appliances are gonna work better. I had it happen in front of my house, and I'm telling you, things will work better. But there is a method to the madness, and they're only required by the BPU to fix what they destroyed. So I'll be glad to give you Mr. Kitt's number after the meeting if you want to wait a few minutes.
Please.
And then you could have a conversation with him on what's going on in that area with water, sewer, and there may be another utility coming in. As you know, GoNet Speed's coming in, Optimum's coming in. So we're juggling all these utility companies with our own utilities.
Okay, but
Okay.
you believe next year they're gonna do the other side of the street?
So you'll give,
I'll
you'll-
give you Mr.
yeah.
Kipp's number,
Okay,
okay?
okay. The other part, again, just timing. I mean, having the dump trucks come down and run into the trees and then say we're gonna prune after that.
so unfortunately, there's things that we don't have control over, right? When it's PSE&G, we try to work with them as best as we can, but they're their own entity.
No, I just meant maybe
Yeah.
the pruning could have been done before.
I understand.
We
but-
can't schedule Jersey Central Power and Light for when we're gonna do their.
I mean, look at Route 18, right? They're doing the bridge
try
after
not
that.
to.
So this happens more frequently than we would like. but,
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, thank you. Anybody else from the public that would like to speak?
Mr. Mayor, Mr. President, Town Council. I have a question on,
Just
behind me.
state your name for the record.
For Sandy
Thank you.
Deepfield Road. Behind me, there's like an easement, a drainage easement in my property. I think it's owned by Fox Meadows, I'm not sure. But there's big trees, branches been falling off, falling on my property. A few years ago, lightning hit one of the top branches, come down and broke a table on my deck and did damage to my roof. Is there any way they could come and check whoever owns that property to see if they had take the dead branches off the trees? It's quite a big run of them. And what happens when the water, when it rains hard, holds the water, then that water's like an easement, goes out to the sewers later on. So it's always active, it's, and once every 3 weeks, maybe they mow the lawn that's there. Just want to know if anything could be done to have the dead branches or taken off my side of the property, if anything. Other than that, I was talking about the kids on these e-bikes. I saw one today, he's behind me, had no helmet on and riding in and out. I think it's possible maybe if you talk to the parents, because if anything, they buy the bike for these people. And let the parents know they're gonna be responsible if they're not doing the right thing. I mean, they are dangerous, these kids, some of them. Two on Route 18 going in and out. I mean, it's not right. And that's it there. And when is the update on the talk about the data centers? Any date yet?
August 24th.
August 24th? Okay, just wanted to know, have a question. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. As far as the e-bikes, that law went into effect July 17th, so we just have to follow the law, right? And as far as the tree, I believe if it's on your property, it's your
If it-
responsibility, correct?
If the tree comes over your property line, you can cut those trees vertically. Yes, that's the law.
Okay. Anybody else from the public that would like to speak?
Good evening to the council. I did hear two themes today. One was parking.
Name and
Your
address.
name and address, I'm sorry.
Shabib Jaffrey, Oliver Court.
Okay.
I did hear two themes today. One was about parking. The other one was about pavement. Our court, we've been experiencing commuter parking for over 30 years. I know my parents, my neighbors have brought this issue to the township over 3 decades, but I believe it has been dismissed. I'm now coming to the township for the same issue. What's happening is because we live near one of the bus stops that goes to the transportation center or the Hilton Towers, sometimes we have vehicles park in our court unattended for many hours. So what we're requesting is, we know that other streets in our area have experienced the same issue. We did see there were 2 signs, one on Windsor Drive and James Road, the intersections of Windsor Drive and James Road, and then also Windsor Drive and Old Bridge Turnpike. It's a 2-hour parking sign from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. We're requesting if the ordinance could be updated to include our street. That way, we don't have to deal with this. What has happened over the years is that it impacts the snow removal services, the cleaning services, and then also sometimes there is conflicts between us and also the individual parking. Our thought process is that we live in a residential area, and if there's anyone that needs to commute to New York City or Jersey City, they should be parking at either the transportation center or the Tower Center. The second issue is that, like the gentleman before us, we haven't seen our road paved. Me personally, I haven't seen it for over 25 years, and it has deteriorated so much that now my neighbors are complaining that they're finding it uneven. They're finding the ground uneven, that they're having a difficult time to walk on. We have 6 senior citizens, at least 8 children, and then we have 1 gifted adult. So I just wanted to bring this to your awareness. I do have documents, if you guys are interested, of the other issues that we are seeing around our court. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam President, Lieutenant Bolwell and Sergeant Ventura are already working on this, and I believe they spoke to you.
And as well as Mr. Kitt.
Yes.
He also spoke.
So they're in the process of evaluating that. There's a process that the traffic safety unit goes through in order to change the street to resident parking only, 2 hours only. So I understand that you've already been communicating with them. They're the proper authority to make the recommendation to this council.
Yes, exactly. So they did let me know that an ordinance needed to be updated, and that's why I came here today to let the council.
But they make the recommendation through the
To
police
the council,
department to the
right.
council. That's the process.
We're very well aware, so we're aware of your concerns.
And the roadway, I inspected the roadway. I had some other people go there. majority of the roadway, it's a court. So that's a lower end of the spectrum and needing to get paved. There was some raveling in the court. It's been crack sealed. There's minor, leveling issues there, but, it's not up to the point like some of the roads over in the Frost area. So we get a certain amount of money to spend on paving, and then we prioritize what roads we're going to do. But the road is in fairly good condition. But I'll double check with Mr. Kipp, and I know he's
I
had
did
volleyball
speak with
that.
him, and, he did say that they crack sealed it, and they
Crack
feel
sealed,
that
yep.
it is, in
base is
good repair for right now, and it's on a rotation,
Right.
on a rotation list.
Is there like a process of like this rotation list, like?
Yeah, they examine the roads and look at the disrepair of the
Condition.
roads and the condition of it, and they get rated, and they get put into a rotation pattern based on need.
I think our only question is that, yes, that you guys did do the crack seal, but it is so many of them. Like, does that
Doesn't matter.
designate to repair or?
Mr. Kipp, in his department, through the engineering department, have determined that the road is in, workable condition with the crack sealing. That it is, and it is, it'll be looked at in the future, but right now, it is, and we all saw pictures as well, so, I understand, but he's working with you on that as well as Lieutenant Vogel, so, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else that would like to speak during the public portion? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public portion. We're moving to our consent agenda. I need a motion for resolutions 254, excuse me, to 26262. A motion?
Motion to approve?
And second? Thank you, and roll call.
Councilmember Hall,
Yes.
Councilman McAvoy,
Yes.
Councilman Wendell,
Yes.
Councilwoman Winston.
Yes.
And Council President Zambiki.
Yes. All right, we have an ordinance for introduction. It is ordinance 2623. Ms. Lawful, can you read the ordinance?
A capital ordinance providing for various capital improvements in and by the Township of East Brunswick, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, appropriating $1.2 million for the replacement of the municipal building roof, including the police department, from the Capital Improvement Fund and Capital Fund balance.
Thank you. A motion or questions? Yes.
Question. And this is just a simple question.
Mhm.
This is for the entire roof?
Yes.
Every lower tier roof and every?
Yeah, the roof and the entire building, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, a motion, please?
So moved.
And second?
Second.
Second, thank you. Roll call, please?
Councilmember Hall,
Yes.
Councilman McAvoy,
Yes.
Councilman Wendell,
Yes.
Councilwoman Winston.
Yes.
And Council President Zambiki.
Yes. Is there anything for the good of the cause from anybody on council on the dais? No? With that, our next meeting is August 24th at 7:30. We'll see you then. Good
Move
night,
to
East
adjourn.
Brunswick. Motion to adjourn. All in
Second.
favor? All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Thank you.